You do not need to be the same person you were yesterday, and you certainly do not need to be the same person you were a year ago. And perhaps right now the reason why you have stress and anxiety is because you know who you are today, but you are still holding on to past patterns of behaviors, beliefs, thoughts, and that's where you have this incongruency and this inner conflict. My name is Pete Scott, and this channel, it used to be about sales transformation. That is my niche. That's my business. But the more I film daily videos, the more I just want to connect with you, get to know you. And by the way, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, I am truly grateful for everybody that does. Every single person who watches my videos. I want to connect with you. I want to get to know you. I want to understand what people want from my videos, but also I made a decision that I'm not just going to talk about sales here and entrepreneurship. I'm going to talk about whatever the fuck I want because it's my channel. So today it is about the biggest shift that I've been making in my own life over the last couple of years, the last year especially. If I go back a few years, my entire identity was geared around entrepreneurship. It was building a business, building teams, making as much money as I could. And although that I wouldn't admit that at the time, if I was to sit down with the previous version of me, say from 2021, I would say, no, of course it's not about those things. I'm into spirituality. I did yoga, I meditated, I spent time with my long-term partner at the time, and we had holidays, all those things, and we got through that weird pandemic. Truth be told is that I wasn't happy. I was stressed. I was constantly anxious. I was constantly overwhelmed. And I believe that this is, well, I know this now, this was my deeper self, you can call it the soul if you want to, coming through and saying, you're not living your truth. You are living a fake version of you. And all of my insecurities were running the show. All of my decisions were coming from a place of trauma, a place of trying to prove myself, and everything was a matter of proving myself to, it doesn't matter who. It can be my dad, it can be somebody or a number of people that I've met throughout my life, because I believe on a deep level, all we truly want is to be loved. And if there's been a point in our life where we haven't felt the love, or maybe not feeling it now, then the ego kicks in and we build an identity, and that becomes our survival. So my survival mechanism was pushing and forcing, and that became my comfort. My comfort was life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. However, I kept on getting this truth showing up again and again, which was, Pete, this is not you. The real you needs to come to light. And it's funny, actually, I remember 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I wrote down 2 things that I wanted in my life. 2 things. Number 1 was a life of simplicity. A life of simplicity. And number 2 was peace. Those 2 things, to me, living a life of simplicity and a life of peace. And I remember saying to a friend when she said to me, what do you really want? And this is going back to like 2014. And I said, I want to be able to sit on a Tuesday afternoon or a Wednesday afternoon outside a coffee shop in London, because I lived in London at the time, and not owe anybody anything. Just to be free of my time. I don't care about all the material things, all the things that are going to keep me stuck, the weight that I'm going to put over my own shoulders by pushing limits all the time. Yet, the following 7-8 years, I did the exact opposite of that. I owned 2 Porsches in the space of like 6 or 7 years at separate times. I always rented the biggest property that I could find, the coolest place that I could live in, and I have no regrets. I traveled all over the world. A lot of that was consulting. I was always on the hunt for bigger and better clients, and it was great. But also, everything came with immense stress and pressure, and it wasn't true to me. And I can fully admit that now, fully, and I'm okay with it. So I want you to think about in your life, what are you living that isn't the real you? What are you faking? Because we have our public image, which is the mask that we put on that we want everybody else to see. And everybody has it, everybody's faking it, me included, for sure. But then we have our private image. And the private image is when the door closes behind you at night, you've got nobody else to impress. That's the real you. How are you treating yourself during that time? And I'll have to be honest, like during those, well, I mean, it wasn't just from 2014 onwards. Most of my adult life, most of my late 20s for sure, and all of my 30s, I was living a double life because I was pushing and being this image with my public image, but then my private image, I wasn't treating myself well. Yes, I meditated every day. Yes, I would do the yoga. Yes, but even that felt like a display. And I would be triggered at so many things. Any fluctuation in finances, I would be triggered. Any client that dropped off, I would be triggered. Anybody that would say the wrong thing to me in the wrong moment, I would be triggered. And that meant that my whole nervous system was dysregulated or dysregulated. Yeah, dysregulated. And it was just because, not because I was a bad person, but I just wasn't being me. And then about 18 months ago, and the last 18 months, being completely transparent with you, have been the hardest 18 months in my life. And I haven't had anything compared to what most people go through. Like, there is so many less fortunate people. But for me, there was situation after situation that kept on revealing, Pete, you cannot hold on to this previous identity anymore. And the more I tried to make decisions from a previous identity that I knew wasn't serving me, the more things would instantly backfire. And it was one thing after another after another. I would literally get over one thing and then the next thing would happen. The short list is that I was rescued. I moved into this apartment and I was rescued with everybody else in the building because there was severe flooding. And then I got a cat, and within a week that cat died. Then I got another cat and I ended up in hospital because that cat had fungus, and I ended up with more than 50 ringworm all over my body. And it was just one thing after another after another. And it felt like the universe, or whatever you believe, was speeding up karma. That all of my karma was coming to surface. Randomly, I have tiles in my apartment, and there was no earthquake on this day. Just all my tiles started just exploding and popping up, and I thought, what is going on? And I thought that there were gas pipes or something underneath the floorboards. No, nothing. Just randomly, my entire floorboards just bang, 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 bang. So my entire apartment had to be resurfaced, and it's done now. But what I noticed that these events were happening more and more frequently, so the time between them was less and less. Fortunately, I feel I'm fairly connected. When I step away from ego and I slow down, I can see, rather than why is this happening to me, I could see why is this happening for me. And it just felt like a karmic cleanse, like a detox of my entire life of karma. But what I also noticed is that despite it being the toughest 18 months I've ever had in my life, I was able to handle each situation with a little bit more calm. I was identifying with who I am today, the real, what I would like to believe is the real me, and not this previous version of me. Thank you, God, or the universe, for all of these things that have happened. And I want to share this with you today because I believe so many of us are allowing anxiety and stress to lead the way, and it doesn't need to be the case. When you remove all the distractions, all the noise, and by the way, there's a lot of things over the last 18 months that I've also changed about myself. I've not had a drop of alcohol in about a year. I think it's about a year. I don't count the days. Not that I drank a lot the last few years, but I've definitely weaned myself off from like 2020 onwards to zero alcohol. I don't even think about alcohol now. And there's other bad habits that I had that quite naturally have just fallen away. And again, it feels like this shedding, and it's a surrendering to this new version of me. So that's my message today. You do not need to be who you were yesterday. And in fact, if you're trying to hold on to that previous version of you, maybe it's now time to surrender to it, accept it, let the karma happen, and from there, be the real you. Let me know your thoughts on today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow.